There's a certain kind of clarity you get from a rooftop. Up here, you're not part of the crowd anymore. Like watching traffic from above instead of being caught inside it. Humans have always climbed upward. Maybe it's the calm that comes from seeing from a better vantage. The height that lets you see further and deeper into what's happening below. Or maybe it's the escape from the ordinary. A place where you can look at the stars and remember there's more than the next distraction. Up here, the world looks different. Patterns appear. Truths sharpen. You can see things you can't see when you're standing in the middle of it. You're close enough to still belong, but far enough to understand your place in it. So today, we're on the rooftops, to watch, to think, to try to understand. From this vantage point, I want to talk about what I'm trying to build, what I'm wrestling with, and what it looks like to fail out loud. Welcome to Failing Out Loud, my new Iron Man account. I'm here to fail publicly, at PVM, at content creation, and most importantly live with the camera on me. Here I am, showing up before I'm ready. Because courageous comfort begins with exposure. And so this all is stemming, if anyone's joining late, this is all stemming from me thinking about the graceful outfit, which are essentially monk robes, right? But you're shrouded. And in that shroudedness, you're living to your true ideals in a world that doesn't accept ideals anymore because it now accepts lies. So it forces those with ideals into the shadows. And if the ideal can only live in the shadows, well, I think that causes it to grow stronger and stronger, give it more and more proof. And when it does finally show up, people recognize it and put it at the top as the new ideal, right? So the shadow becomes the ideal, becomes the new thing to encircle. This society that lives by lies will create this symbol of truth to emerge that will mirror and reflect the world's lies back upon everyone, and everyone will know that it was the truth. And they value truth now more because of that figure. So that's what I'm doing with this channel, hopefully, is, well, maybe not quite, but this is Courageous Comfort, where I'll have to work on my exact catchphrase, right? But something along the lines of, the courage to be comfortable and the comfort to be courageous. Chapter 1 of this account is to do it through my RuneScape character. And my RuneScape character's name is Failing Out Loud. And I'm doing it by failing out loud in front of a webcam and documenting the experience and kind of proving to myself and hopefully the world that failing out loud is the way to do it. And social media and all these different things that we have, politics, everything, all of it pretends to be perfect. All of it values virtue signaling over true virtue. And it's what people can believe that is important. It's not the actual doing. I'm willing to put my theories to practice and hopefully ring true to some people. That sincerity, being yourself, being authentic, telling the truth of, when you disagree and it's something important, to let the person know that you disagree and why you disagree, and to have the humility to listen to them and the ability to try to search to see what truth is in what they see. Because when you search for truth, You know, you're not just picking what benefits. You pick what rings true. And, you know, to do it just by yourself, I think is a recipe for disaster. If you just only believe your own truth, I think it's very limited, and there's the risk of you just rationalizing and changing your perceptions to match what you believe. So instead, I'm hoping that putting myself in front of the camera, putting my ideas to test and seeing them succeed or fail, will have the result that I'm looking for, and I will fail out loud doing it. And doing so, I believe that to be in doing that, I believe I'm finding the steps that are required to succeed. If I succeed, I hope that that can be a step towards good. And I think a step towards good is not selfless always. I want to live in the good and find the values that we all need together, you know. So I try to speak to more eternal values and more try to make the cases for them, because, you know, when I listened to a lot of hip hop and stuff growing up, and I love it to death, right? And I listened to a lot of other things, rock and roll, whatever else, right? And the Beatles and whatever else. And, you know, I look back in reflection of all of them and just kind of wonder, are they just saying what sounds good sometimes? And when those words and thoughts and spirits are put into action, I think we get the world that we got right now. The dominant culture of the last 40, 50, 60 years, right, is all culminated till right now. You know, I wish Lord of the Rings and Batman were they're highly loved and adored, right? But it's not our shared culture, really. It's just shared amongst certain men, right? And the actual culture is TikTok and Tinder or something like that. I don't know, and Netflix and chill, and failed relationships and people lying in relationships and taking advantage of each other. It's all this lower level, egocentric, lowest common denominator garbage that we all watch and follow. And, you know, when I listen to people listen to hip hop and stuff at work, whatever, Nicki Minaj and whatever else, it's all about self-empowerment, and it's all about using sexuality for someone's benefit, and it's never like it's never about anything grander, greater than something outside of them. And so Batman and Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, those are what I've always called me, and well, they're questions of what to do in these dark times, and well, it's to find something grander than yourself, right? The call to fellowship in Lord of the Rings, about Rohan answering Gondor's call, right? And Aragorn, and Samwise, and Gandalf, and Frodo, and all the powerful speeches. You know, I think many of my friends I don't think they would even question if I would be there for them. And I wouldn't question my friends being there for me, right? But I don't feel like that's the norm sometimes. I don't know, I think we can bring that out into the world a little bit, but I never really have moments to really feel like I can do that. You know, before I quit my job, I was there for everyone, and everyone at work, I felt, kind of took advantage of that and didn't really care to give back. So I didn't really feel like that was the environment to build what I was looking for. You know, I don't want to be in the shadows with my ideals in my basement or whatever, in the dark room, just with my ideals. I want to, you know, bring that out into the world. And, you know, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine, that type of song type of thing, right? So that's Courageous Comfort in a nutshell. And each time I fall down, each time I die in this game and lose my cat and lose 200 death runes, and each setback is annoying and a source of embarrassment of, you know, I got chanced. For those that didn't watch, I was in the Stronghold security and I had some wine on me and such, and I didn't want to, you know, waste the wine, so I had 8 health, and I didn't think that I could get knocked out in one hit. I thought I'd be able to get hit and then drink my wine back to full health. And, well, turns out that in Anku's max hit was an 8. And on the first hit it had on me, it hit an 8, and it happened. And caused me to lose my composure. It was the only time I've sworn on stream, I think, so far. And I did a couple mistakes like that in the day, and each one had kind of, my plans didn't all go according to what I thought they would have went to. And so that was me failing out loud. That was me falling down and getting up like Batman. And like Rocky, you know, or whatever. And so yeah, I believe in the marriage of opposite values is probably my foundational understanding of the world. You know, yin and yang type stuff, right? It's not one extreme or the other, it's the marriage of the two. And, you know, so I believe in sincerity, but I think that sincerity is to allow play to occur, that you kind of have to contain play to areas play can occur in. Because if you play around in moments when you're supposed to be sincere, well, the other person's not going to be too happy with you. So yeah, these opposite ideas always come up to me, and I just enjoy, I guess, thinking about these types of things, maybe. I think what I like to do is try to make sense of the world, see where we're living at, and that then allows you to act and play and do everything else that's important and that you value. And so I like to reflect on the symbols of culture and the happenings of the moments, and seeing what archetypes and what images and what ideas are being presented, and how the creator of it came to those conclusions, and kind of question if I agree or disagree, and are they just saying an idea? Because, like, what are they protecting with the idea that they come up with? And so that's what I meant by virtue signals before, of like, yeah, I listen to people, and you start seeing that, like, do you believe what you believe, or do you believe what you believe just to keep yourself an image and to just say the right thing because it's easier, and to actually question where your beliefs come from? And so I just recently watched a video on Socrates, who's the ultimate questioner, and the foundation of Western philosophy, probably. And yeah, so obviously the Socratic questioning and the living an examined life, right, is that everything kind of stems from your beliefs, I think. And if you never question where your beliefs are, they're not really your beliefs, and they're not really your perceptions of the world. It's just perceptions of ideas that were given to you and that you just kind of take for granted and assume to be true sometimes. And where's my agility at? Agility's that officially my, yeah. So yeah, it's been my highest level for a minute now, ever since I came to the Vracker course, where I'm training to be Batman, jumping across rooftops. See, even Matrix, that literally the first action scene is essentially Trinity jumping across roof cracks, right? Batman's known for that, obviously. The I'm Batman was on a rooftop, literally his first scene. So there's a lot of weird connections that kind of happen if you pay attention to them. And you know, if you, I also mentioned V for Vendetta. First time that they listen to the music is on top of the rooftops. And so, you know, Gargoyles, it's Rooftops, if you know that show. It's kind of the same Batman type-esque thing going on there. Super honorable gargoyle leader dude on top of the rooftops at the nights in the shadows, right? And so yeah, I think rooftops are obviously you're outside of society too. You're on top of it, you're overlooking it. You're not quite in common world, but you're not removed, you're just looking above. And you kind of have these different insights and such that it's not quite going well. It's kind of an area for introspection, maybe. And I think that's maybe why, you know, when that reminds me of a different motif that gives me fears, right? The ivory tower. That, you know, do I sometimes go into my own ivory tower, or am I on the rooftops? Am I actually observing the outside world and not in it? Or am I in a ivory tower completely isolated and coming up with whatever I want to believe about what's going on? So yeah. We continue on with agility, and so agility is maybe about maybe as a skill, it's about training on your own. It's about maybe room for introspection, maybe a removal from the normal courses of life, and you go on top of the rooftops, right? And next we're going to go into fletching and woodcutting, and so I think that's maybe something we'll take a break to do once we get to 40, which is coming up pretty soon. And so I find those to be, you know, kind of maybe the opposite skills of, you know, building the bat cave, you know, and getting all the tools and such, right? That you can introspect on top of the rooftops and make yourself as strong as possible, but it's about what you build, it's about the environment you form, it's about the tools that you make. You know, Batman has his he's got his gadgets, he's got his fancy cars, he's got his mansion, and so you gotta chop some wood sometimes, and you gotta form that with your hands. Yeah, when we get on to fletching pretty soon, we only have 3,000 more XP, so we're coming very close to the level 30. We're also coming very close to my kitten becoming a cat. So that's going to be 200 more death runes. Alright, level 40, and we have a mark of grace, so let's go and we'll get that final mark for number 20. So yeah, let's get our last grace, and then we can teleport out. Or I guess we can just stop at the bank and do a little bit of fletching. So yeah, we were up on the rooftops for a while, looking down at the world, looking up at the stars, trying to make sense of the space in between. Stepping out of the noise to see the patterns from a new angle, stepping above the rush to remember what actually matters. Rooftops aren't a place to stay. They're a place to understand, to appreciate, to get an honest idea about what I'm carrying and what I'm aiming for. What matters is ideal, and ideally it matters. So, heading back down now, back into the day-to-day, hopefully with a few pieces of clarity we found up here. And maybe the courage to live closer to them. But honestly, maybe it's the comfort to do so.